President Trump's director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is accusing the Obama administration of manipulating an intelligence assessment about the 2016 election. The assessment in question was released on January 6th of 2017, 2 weeks ahead of President Trump's first inauguration. Now, it makes multiple statements about Russia's efforts to meddle in the election, but Director Gabbard has taken issue with one specific conclusion. The assessment found that Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump. Yesterday, President Trump accused former President Barack Obama of treason. Our Ed O'Keefe asked Director Gabbard today about the possibility of criminal charges.
Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy.
CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro and CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis joins us now. Thank you so much for being with us. Olivia, I'm going to start with you. Gabbard is specifically calling out this 2017 intel assessment. What have other assessments said about Russia's efforts to sway the election, and how do they compare with what Director Gabbard is now saying today?
Sure, Jerika. So as you say, the key focal point of the nearly 200 pages of documents that the DNI has released so far is this assessment that first put it all on paper in the final weeks of the Obama administration in 2017. And that the most disputed part of that assessment is this judgment: Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances. The materials that she released today were part of a report drafted by the Republican staff of the House Intelligence Committee in 2017. That staff included at the time Kash Patel, now the FBI director. And it questioned the analysis leading to that judgment of Putin's preferences. It includes a discussion, problematically, according to some, of highly sensitive raw intelligence shared by a human source working with the CIA about Putin's intentions. And that questions the motivations of that source, whether the source had an anti-Trump bias, and said that there should have been more sources relied upon in deriving, again, that judgment. But this is a question that has been reviewed by, and we can count them, the Senate Intelligence Committee with a voluminous bipartisan report, Special Counsel Robert Mueller, Special Counsel John Durham, and most recently the CIA under John Ratcliffe, President Trump's nominee to lead the agency. Not one of them changed anything fundamental about the assessment or even said anything about the credibility of the source. Meanwhile, disclosures like these have costs. We've talked to current and former officials in the intelligence world who say disclosures like these can have a chilling effect on any current or would-be intelligence sources, some of whom are risking their lives to give information to the U.S. government and now may be reconsidering.
All right, Olivia, I'm going to turn now to Aaron. I want you, if you could, Aaron, talk to us about the timing. Why release these documents now?
Jerika, our colleague Ed O'Keefe actually asked Gabbard the why now question, the what's actually new in this report given the past reports, and why she's amplifying it in such a way now. And I thought her answer, a bit of a non-answer, was revealing. She deflected, and she argued that the Intelligence Committee right now, the intelligence community, is not politicized. In the backdrop of all of this are continuing developments when it comes to stories about Jeffrey Epstein, ties allegedly to President Trump. The Wall Street Journal reported today that Trump was told by his Justice Department in May that his name is in files related to Jeffrey Epstein. The Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche told the Wall Street Journal they did make Trump aware of these findings, but reiterated nothing in the files warranted further investigation. Again, the mention of names in these files does not automatically designate wrongdoing. But the White House responded quickly to dispute the Wall Street Journal's reporting, saying that Trump kicked Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club years ago and called this story, quote, a continuation of fake news stories. You also saw President Trump yesterday in the Oval Office kind of have these long rants about President Obama, accusing him of a coup in that 2016 election. And while talking to congressional Republicans last night at the White House, after briefly mentioning Jeffrey Epstein, suggested that Republicans, when they are asked a, quote, question that's not appropriate, that they should bring up and pivot to talking about Obama and the 2016 election.
Wow, a lot to cover here. We appreciate you, Aaron Navarro and Olivia Gazis. Thank you so much.